unfiltered discussions, unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Welcome in. This is The Last Show. We got a lot to cover, but here's what you're going to hear tonight. An amazing new discovery underneath the pyramids in Egypt. Structures twice the size of the Eiffel Tower, one scientist claims, have been found. Is this evidence that aliens created the pyramids? We'll investigate that in about 10 minutes. After that, smart clothes inspired by Batman high-tech capes. Will you be able to get them, and what the heck are they? We'll find out tonight. Let's jump in. This past weekend in Winnipeg, a place that's Canada's answer to the question, what if a snow globe was a city? A woman was literally run over in a parking lot fight. Yes, run over, literally. Not just emotionally wounded by the harsh realities of parking etiquette, but physically under a car, mowed down. According to the police, this woman was in her 30s and standing in a parking spot, trying to save it for a family member. To me, annoying behavior, but maybe not worth running someone down over. It was a scene that's kind of like trying to save a seat in a crowded theater with just your jacket, except your jacket is your body, and the patron who's trying to sit there is 2 tons of steel and rage. Anyway, along comes another driver, a 40-year-old woman, who sees the spot open and interprets occupied by human being as totally available. And she doesn't just argue, she drives through the argument. She hits the woman, she traps her under the SUV, and then leaves the scene like she just knocked over a pylon. No biggie. Now you might ask, how does someone run over a human being and walk away? And I would just say this. Have you seen the people at Costco on a Sunday? In a word, it's anarchy. Police say the victim was rushed to the hospital in stable condition with lower body injuries. The suspect was arrested and charged with assault with a weapon. In this case, the weapon, a car. She was also charged with careless driving, which as a charge to me always reads more like driving with really intense vibes. Now you might be wondering, what could possibly possess someone to run over a person just to claim a parking spot? I have a theory. Maybe, just maybe, she thought it was a test. Like some kind of reality show. Canada's next top sociopath. Or maybe, let's face it, the woman just really hates people who try to save spots. I do too. But I just roll down my window, yell, or maybe even just give a dirty look and keep on going about my day. But you know the type. They stand there saving the spot all smug. I'm saving this for my mom. This is not a good person to be. You don't deserve to be run over, but you deserve a stubbed toe or a canker sore or something like that. Anyway, the driver who was arrested has been released. I don't know if she regrets it, but if there's any justice in the world, she'll spend eternity circling the IKEA parking lot, seeing open spots just as someone else pulls in. In the end, the lesson, simple. If you're trying to save a spot with your body, maybe don't. Use a traffic cone or a moose. This was in Canada. There are options. All right, huddle in. Get this. A crime that truly stinks. That'll make more sense in a second. A man in Orlando, Florida, allegedly swallowed 2 sets of Tiffany & Co. diamond earrings, valued at a grand total of nearly $770,000. That's right, the man decided the best place to store priceless stolen jewelry was the same place that your burrito goes to die. You know, the vault, down the hatch. And of course this happened in Florida. The suspect, a 32-year-old man, is alleged to have pretended to be an assistant to an NBA player to get into a VIP showroom at Tiffany's. Bold move. I mean, I've also pretended to be someone's assistant. That's usually just to get out of helping a friend move or something like that. Anyway, once the man got the bling in his hands, he pulled a distraction and bolted with 2 sets of earrings. But tragically did drop a ring worth almost $600,000 on his way out. I guess he wasn't that hungry. Police caught up with him the same day and then watched him swallow the earrings. Just gulp. That's commitment. Some people have a fear of commitment. This man, he just digested it. They hauled the man off to jail where officers said they heard him say, "I should have thrown them out the window." I hope that's not a euphemism for putting them elsewhere in your body. But yes, I do agree. That would have been the classy way to dispose of stolen luxury jewelry. Not eating it. I would just be worried about it scratching my esophagus and stomach lining, and gross. Once in custody, the man asked the staff, "Am I going to be charged with what's in my stomach?" My friend, when the evidence is literally working its way through your colon like a very sparkly piece of pizza, yes, you're going to be charged, and possibly constipated. Police took the man to a hospital and had to monitor him for 2 weeks. 2 weeks! Imagine being the detective assigned to that. Forget car chases. Your job is now watching for a man try to go to the bathroom and eliminate about $750,000. That's not police work. That's medieval. Anyway, eventually, after many hours of waiting for the drop, shall we say, the earrings emerged. I assume there was confetti, a puff of smoke, a round of applause, and then an industrial cleaning process. The jewelry retailer Tiffany's says the earrings were returned, serial numbers confirmed, and yes, cleaned. Thoroughly. Honestly, I hope they use holy water and not just a wet wipe. A detective on the case described it as a marathon, not a sprint, which in this context sounds like a very elegant way of saying, we waited and watched a grown man go to the bathroom for 2 weeks. Now, the thief, he is in jail. Again. It's not his first time there. Maybe not even the first time being a sparkle bandit. He allegedly robbed a Tiffany's in Texas back in 2022. Oh, and he's got 48 separate warrants out for his arrest in Colorado. That, my friends, is a rap sheet. In the end, justice was served. Delayed and disgusting justice, but justice was served nonetheless. And so was whatever was on the hospital lunch tray. I just hope the nurses or whoever went through the refuse got hazard pay. Because no one should have to fish out Tiffany earrings out of someone else's digestive system, at least not without a bonus. So to you I say, diamonds are forever. But so is whatever's posted on your x-ray. And if you head to Tiffany's and happen to be browsing for a couple sets of nearly $1 million earrings, maybe bring bleach before you buy them. In Berlin, Germany, pigeons are being tricked into taking birth control. That's right, birds are getting dosed with a little something called Ovistop. It's a pigeon contraceptive. Not to be confused with the German birth control pill, 9 baby. Get it? No baby? It's a good joke. I thought so, at least. A certain train station in Berlin has such a problem with bird droppings, or as I call it, sky-based Jackson Pollocks. The Deutsche Bahn, the German rail company, is trying to reduce the pigeon population without, hiring snipers, because that would be unsanitary. So for the next 3 years, every few days, workers will be tossing around corn kernels coated with pigeon birth control. The idea is this. If pigeons stop reproducing, eventually there'll be fewer pigeons. And then fewer presents landing on your croissant or schnitzel or whatever they have in Germany while you wait for your train. Now, before you're worried about poisoning young pigeons, smaller birds can't actually eat the pills because the pellets are too big. And if other animals eat them, they'd have to down an absurd amount for it to work. So unless some very hungry raccoon is looking to go celibate, wildlife should be fine. The pills don't last forever. The pigeons have to keep popping them every few days. It's less birth control and more a codependent relationship with pharmaceutical corn. Makes you wonder, at what point is a pigeon just a feathery friend in a situationship with Big Pharma? If the plan works, it could spread across Germany, and maybe Europe. We could see it in North America, meaning a global population of pigeons might wake up one day wondering why no one's pregnant. Was it something I said? Did she not like the way my wings flap? Meanwhile, elsewhere in Europe, Yorkshire and England, and I swear this is true, they're hiring hawks to scare away pigeons. One's named Maverick and the other Zulu. Nothing like giving your birds of prey vaguely colonial names while they terrorize urban wildlife. Other train stations in the country have tried fake owls and recorded hawk sounds, which is like the most passive-aggressive deterrent ever, and they work exactly never. You can't trick a pigeon. These birds have seen too much. They've lived on cigarettes, fries, and broken dreams. They make love in the gutter, and any pigeon worth its salt knows what the real danger looks like. So instead, they're being drugged. And hopefully it works and doesn't pollute the water supply or anything like that, because nothing says civilized society like slipping Plan B into a bird's lunch and calling it public infrastructure. Coming up after the break, the mystery of the pyramids gets stranger. Radar has found underground structures twice the size of the Eiffel Tower. What is going on there? We'll find out soon.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. we're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Today, ancient curiosities. Let's hop into our time machines, which are real things that we have, and head on down to the pyramids and discuss who made them, why they're there, and then arrive at a crazy recent discovery of tunnels that we never thought were there. We're here with Noah Cappe. It's Noah versus the unknown. He's a TV host with a passion for the unknown and the ancient. And Noah, thank you for joining me today. What a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, man. And listen, the pyramids is such a big topic that we're actually going to talk about that instead of the time machine technology, which we own. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's true. It's definitely real. Definitely.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. The pyramids, this is a topic that no one's ever tackled before. And so really anything we say about it will be new and fresh. But you know what? It's one of those things that it's the stereotypical topic to discuss about the ancient and curiosities around the ancient. But because it's such a common topic, I feel like no one ever goes into it. I can't remember the last time I heard the pyramids discussed on the radio. And I mean that.
Are you serious? I guess I spend so much time in this world and kind of, playing and diving around in these wacky little spaces that it's such a huge part of my day to day. The pyramids to me have always represented, I think, the kind of the poster of the unknown. It's the official symbol of what happened on this planet. What were we capable of? Are there aliens? I mean, all the wacky theories that get involved. We're going to talk about it all, from the concept that there was 200,000 Egyptians for 30 years moving elephant-ton weighted stones around, to the extreme other side of maybe something came down in a spinning little saucer and helped us out.
I get that you see a lot of this because you watch Uncle Jimmy's Pyramid Conspiramid YouTube channel with 4 hits. But I just mean, when was the last time you flipped on the TV? Regardless, let's jump in. The historicity of who built these things, because I know the Bible says the Jewish people were slaves and they built Egypt, but when we actually go to who built it, I don't think it's well understood who put the stones in the actual structures.
No, I mean, look, this is one of those where the classic term mainstream science, right? In this world, it's what's considered just science, we've had to dub as this separate area. Mainstream science would say that, this was built around 2500 BC, that Egyptian workers, slaves, over the course of 20, 30 years, hundreds of thousands of them moved these, like I said, the weight of 2 elephants. You're talking about 2.3 million limestone blocks that are sitting anywhere between 2.5 to there's stones that are around the base that are 15 tons. So the first question is, where are you getting 2.3 million cut limestone blocks? The answer is from a quarry that is so far away. So the first thing is, how are we getting these from there to here? Well, a lot of people say the Nile, and that they floated these stones down the Nile, and that they used water and buoyancy and all of this whatever to kind of transport them. But that's the beginning of the question. The real, the stumper, the real kind of hurdle to get over here is, once these blocks are there, how do you not only build this thing, but to a degree of alignment and decimal points that's unbelievable. People may not know this, but the pyramid was originally encased in a white, shiny stone. The whole outside of it had
smooth. Yeah, it didn't have those big step blocks. That stuff just eroded to time, I guess.
Completely smooth, giant. I mean, imagine coming through the desert and seeing this thing in 3,000 BC. It is an unbelievable accomplishment. I've been there. I went and experienced these things in real life, in person. And you stand there, and whatever clips you've seen, it is hard to fathom the idea that people today could build it, let alone back then. But that's the door that opens, right? And so now you've got this structure, and you're like, okay, if they miss a block by a decimal point, the dominoes that fall from that slight misalignment when you're going up on an angle of that significance and magnitude would set off a wall that would be, not aligned properly, would fall apart, would set off a base that didn't fit in properly. You're talking about stones that are being put into place at such a specific thing. The level of math that goes into this structure, the understanding of math, science, and astronomy to pull this off, alone implies that they knew more than we could ever imagine.
My handyman has a laser level and he still can't get an electrical outlet straight in my apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like it is crazy. What tools were they using? How did they have consistent measurements? Like, for example, a yardstick or a meter stick. They didn't have that back then.
I mean, listen, we're supposed to be told that they hadn't invented the wheel yet.
Yeah.
That this is a group of people who couldn't invent the wheel or figured that out yet, but were able to find true north within a decimal point. I mean, we talked about this briefly last time I was on the show, but the pyramids are aligned to true north within 3/60th of a degree, which is, I mean, a computer would struggle to get that alignment. So these types of things, this one is my favorite, arguably. The pyramid's latitude is the speed of light. So if you measure the speed of light in meters per second, you get this number of 29979. It goes on and on and on. The pyramid's latitude is 29.979. And then
but they weren't measuring latitude in the same units. They didn't, it's just a coincidence of units. I mean, that one is they didn't have meters back then. That's a more modern. If I chose miles instead of meters, then it wouldn't be the speed of light. I'm just saying that's too much of a coincidence for me to.
But that is the point. It's too much of a coincidence. There's no way you could have 6-7 digits of perfect match for the latitude and to match the speed of light.
No, I'm saying it's it is a coincidence. It's just a big one and that's it. I'm saying it's too much.
Right.
Not it's too much to be a coincidence. I'm saying it's too much to consider for it to be anything but a coincidence.
Right. That was the too much line read. I didn't. It was the dramatic performance. Yeah.
I said it wrong. I'm just trying to backpedal here. I get it. Yeah.
It's an unbelievable. And then listen, you head inside and the questions and the curiosities continue. The melted staircase. I mean, all these things. I don't know what you know about.
No, I do know a little. Are you comfortable looking at all these things? Coincidences, not unexplainable ways of construction or explainable, and being comfortable living in that unknown space and saying, look, it's amazing, but we don't know? Or do you like a particular conclusion? Maybe there's not a lot of evidence for it, but do you like a particularly out there conclusion? Like it was aliens, or they had technologies that were secret and hidden that were beyond what we have today? How do you reconcile these unknowns, these big coincidences, and then how it all happened?
Well, I mean, I think this is a world where you have to be comfortable in the gray. The black and white answers, unfortunately, just don't present themselves very often. I would love to be able to just continue to get enough evidence to be able to lean significantly in one direction. I'm open to everything and anything. I think at the end of the day, you and I have talked about this so many times, and we agree. It's not necessarily about aliens. It's just about an advanced level of understanding and a civilization that maybe had technologies that we just don't understand or assume that they couldn't have had. But this structure and these structures are riddled with unbelievable curiosity. Star alignments with Orion's belt. Not only the pyramids themselves, the three structures, and how the third pyramid is slightly offline from the other two, very similar to the three stars in Orion's belt. If you look at the timeline, Orion's belt is exactly over top of the pyramids as the celestial, wheel spins. You get windows of time. So the Sphinx looking out in this direction, Orion's belt, both the Sphinx line up with the constellation of Leo and Orion's belt directly over the pyramid 10,500 years ago, which leads us to what we talked about last week with sites like Göbekli Tepe that talk about a catastrophic kind of world-ending event around 10,500 years ago. So here again is another structure right at the time that we are apparently having this reset button hit on the planet. What's going on?
When we come back, the wonderment will continue. There have been underground structures found by radar twice the size of the Eiffel Tower underneath the pyramids. They've just been discovered. People are coming up with all kinds of wild theories what these could be. Are we going to excavate them? What might we find there? What might this all mean? We'll be back with Noah Cappe on Noah versus the Unknown in a moment.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. Keep listening to The Last Show with David Cooper, because the alien invasion can wait. The Last Show with David Cooper.
We are talking the ancient pyramids and a new discovery.
Bum, 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 bum.
Exactly.
So I had to hit you with the music, right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Underground structures have been discovered underneath the pyramids. These are the first major discovery around that area in a while, an area with a long history of wild curiosity creating discoveries. These structures are twice as deep as the Eiffel Tower, okay? They stretch across 2 kilometers. What is that, like a mile and a bit? And what are they? The internet has come up with all kinds of amazing theories we're going to discuss with Noah Cappe on Noah versus the Unknown. Noah's a TV host, and he is curious about the unknown. How many times can I say the word unknown in an introduction? That's the great question, Noah.
Well, I'm playing a drinking game every time you say it. I'll tell you, this is the best interview I've ever done.
All right, this one is wild. I didn't actually know about this until today, just before the interview. You told me. I love a good tunnel story. I love a good secret underground tunnel, secret underground city. I love that. I mean, that's to me always the most. Caves are exciting to me. Man-made underground ancient tunnels even more exciting. Let's dig in.
This is a wild, wacky one. I was, digging around, doing my stuff, and I came across this story a few days ago, and my wife almost had a heart attack. She was in her home office. I kicked the door in like a SWAT team. I mean, I came in just like, this is real. This will change the history of the planet. I mean, it was one of those stories where it was like, if this is confirmed, then that's it. It's over. Not only are we confirming that the Egyptians didn't build this, but now we're opening the door to like questions of, the biggest, wildest things you could think of. But the grown-up version of me has learned through this unknown time I've spent to dive and dig a little deeper. And when you find stories that are only being shared by social media influencers and you're not really finding any massive, legitimate publications talking about them, you tend to kind of spidey sense tingles and you go, wait a second.
Oh. Well, first of all, why would a huge tunnel like that mean evidence of an advanced civilization? Like there's that city in Turkey, I think it's called Gubu, where it's like an underground city they discovered just like randomly, I don't know, fixing someone's plumbing in the basement. They found an entrance. And that city was from, I forget what year, but it could hold up to 20,000 people. And it's from like the 8th century BCE, like 8th century.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable place. That's real. Obviously, you can, tour groups go through there. 20-something stories deep. There was places for livestock. They believed that there were churches. I mean, there was air systems,
ventilation shafts.
Ventilation.
But why would a 2-kilometer tunnel under the pyramids mean one thing when we know that the ancients can build underground cities?
Well, I guess this is one of those of like, going to a mall and going to the Mall of America. You're talking about at a scale for people, 2 kilometers or a mile and a half. I mean, think about, first of all, what they're claiming is that there's about 600 meters of these long tube-shaped structures coming underneath the pyramid that almost look like shock absorbers or some type of like support system or some type of, there's a big theory that the pyramids are some type of power plant, that at some point that they were used as a power facility, and there's readings of zinc and all these different chemicals in the shafts where they believe that they poured stuff in and whatever it may be. So you've got this element of power and this generator kind of thing. These are 600 meters, apparently, these giant tubes. Now, the pyramid itself, I think, is like, you're talking about 4 pyramids deep just for the tubes. Then those tubes are apparently sitting on 1.5 miles deep structures. That would be the greatest undertaking in the history of humanity. I mean, forget going to Vegas or forget looking at Dubai's tower or whatever. This would be 3 Dubai towers into the earth. It would be, is it the Hall of Records? Is it a power station? Is it silliness? That's the question. And unfortunately, it pains me to say it, but I think this one might be a little bit of the silliness.
Really? But didn't Egypt announce it? Like their Department of Tourism? Well, I guess as the words come out of my mouth, like why is a tourism department announcing it and not a bunch of scientists?
It's tough. The person who has done the majority of the announcements and press releases in regards to this is the person who invented the technology that they've used. So this is a technology that's brand new that this person has invented and uses all these, upgrades and updates to this system that they've put in. So nobody else really knows what it is. When you look at the actual radar images, there is the feeling of maybe there's some spaces underneath, and there's long been conversations, even going back to like Plato's texts and some of the Greek philosophers who shared stories about Egypt and what was happening out there and talked about vast underground spaces and cities. This is, even if there is something underneath there, I would say it's probably not multiple miles deep.
Oh man, then this is the last time I watch, Uncle Larry's YouTube pyramid excitement.
I know. I'm supposed to be here to tell you that it's real, but No,
I think understanding when hype and people passing around conspiracies and excitement aren't real is just as important as covering it when it is real. So I think there's value in saying, oh, I saw this thing on my social media page. There's this amazing tunnel, and then looking at where it's coming from and realizing, okay, maybe it's not something to get excited about.
That's my hope with Noah versus the Unknown, is that it's going to be a place to talk about all these unbelievably fun topics, but also acknowledge when science steps in and says, look, we can close the book on this one, that we acknowledge that, hold on, wait for it, everybody. Science is real.
Science is real. You heard it here first by Noah Cappe on Noah versus the Unknown as we talk about ancient wonders. Earlier, when we were talking about the pyramids, we kind of glossed over the Sphinx, which is an equally kind of curious ancient object, ancient structure. I don't actually know that much about it.
Well, that sounds like an invitation to come back. I mean, the Sphinx is a whole show and a whole topic within its own. Are there hidden passageways? We've seen the entrance at the base of the tail. There's one on the top of its head. There are doors. There are things that lead in. Now, Zahi Hawass, who is a very wild, wacky character from the Egyptian government, is known for potential corruption and all kinds of whatever. He claims, oh, there's nothing down there. Nope, no, whatever. But he won't let anyone go down there, and he won't let anybody bring a camera into these tunnels. The shape of the Sphinx's head, disproportionate to the rest of its body. A lot of theories that the pharaohs the Egyptians found the Sphinx because it was from an older culture, and that they carved Khufu's head onto the Sphinx. That if you look at it, why is the head so much smaller, disproportionate to the rest of the body? Because they carved it down from what might have been a cat, a Sphinx, a lion, something like that. But what's so interesting about the Sphinx is the water erosion. All around the Sphinx enclosure is a level of water erosion that could only happen with massive, massive flooding or rains. And we have the technology and the timeline to be able to go, those happened, especially out there, this date, this date, this date.
Oh, because the Nile floods every now and again.
The flooding is so rare, and this level of water erosion is so huge that you can go easily through the history of time and look at the ground, just dig deep enough anywhere and look at a cross-section and say, okay, we can see what happened.
You got to come back next week to talk about this.
Are we hitting people with a cliffhanger?
Yeah, well, tell me a little bit about the erosion. We got like 30 seconds.
I'll tell you this. The erosion implies that this structure was built tens of thousands of years ago. There is zero chance that the rock could have been carved in 3,000 BC and water eroded channels all down the side. You can see it. It looks like channels of water that have run through the rock. It's impossible. It doesn't line up. That is just one of many little pieces of evidence that prove, I think, that the Sphinx is much older than we thought.
Oh my God, I can't wait. Noah, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time. I'm excited to chat about this next week.
Dude, I had such a fun time. I might jump in our time machine and go back to the beginning of the interview.
I'm here with Noah Cappe. Just search Noah versus the Unknown on social media to give him a follow or not. It's whatever. Who cares?
Who cares? Who cares?
Imagine a future with smart clothes inspired by Batman, like exoskeletons and stuff. Well, that future is here. Up next, how soon you'll be able to wear them.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. We solve world problems with radio jingles and bad advice. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Smart clothes inspired by Batman's high-tech cape are moving from fiction to reality, thanks to researchers at the University of Alberta. And this isn't just some silly project in the university's basement for students. No, the university has secured over $20 million in funding to develop them. These next-gen garments can stiffen, they can flex, they can help you fly. Okay, I made that one up. All the while looking and feeling like everyday clothing. I'm here with two researchers who co-lead an international interdisciplinary effort at the University of Alberta to bring these capes to your doorstep. One is Dr. Dan Sameoto. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much.
And the other is Dr. Vivian Mushahwar. Vivian, what a pleasure.
Thank you, David.
What exactly are these smart clothes, this smart wear, and how does it all work? This is so fascinating. Side note, how soon can I be Batman?
So what are these? Imagine your clothes, your own clothes, changing their shape, changing their stiffness so that they can intuitively assist you while you're doing your daily tasks. These clothes are going to look like everyday clothes, the clothes that you like to wear. And they're going to have fibers in them, fibers within that you don't see them. Those fibers are going to be part of the garments of your clothes. Those are the fibers that are going to change their shape, change their stiffness. They're going to even sense what it is that you want to do. And then they're going to change their shape so that they can assist you to do the function that you're trying to do. You're not going to even know that they're helping you. People around you are not going to know that they're helping you, but they're going to be there, basically your assistant all throughout the days of work, I guess the waking hours. How they work, I'm going to give it to Dan.
Yeah, so thanks very much. It's interesting is that fabrics themselves are basically made of stiff materials already, but they act soft because they're all these individual fiber bundles. So the same kind of material, though, you could reverse that process. You can make all those individual fibers stick together and not be able to move relative to one another. It's almost like putting your hair in hair gel, right? It gives it strength and stiffness, etc. And our goal is to essentially provide that capability in regular clothing so that what is something that's like a nice, soft, wearable, loose-fitting garment can, as necessary, become stiff, supporting like a brace, for instance, or something else that would otherwise assist you in everyday life. So it's simply just reversing the process of how we've already turned fabrics into soft materials to begin with.
So these are nothing like exoskeletons in futuristic movies with soldiers. These are much more hidden, much more sleek, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, this is something that would be much closer to just like a t-shirt or a vest, for instance, that you wouldn't necessarily know at first glance as anything different than a regular article of clothing. But as necessary and only when necessary would actually be able to provide assistance or support.
And what kinds of things would these clothes unlock for people, especially those with mobility issues or some sort of issues with their limbs, their arms, their legs?
Yeah, that's an important question. And that's really our target. The target for this project is people with muscular weakness. So people who have injuries like stroke or spinal cord injury or a condition like muscular dystrophy, people who are older adults who have declining abilities because their muscles are starting to get weaker and weaker. So we're talking about this group of people with muscle weakness for this project, but we're also talking about people who are at risk of injury because of their work. For example, the healthcare providers who take care of people with muscular weakness. They are at risk of injury. So the idea is to help them to reduce the chances of injury. This is what the project is focused on, but probably you can imagine that the applications are limitless. You can think of athletes, you can think of construction workers, you can think of people in warehouses who are at risk of injury because of their work. So really the applications are limitless when it comes to this. But for this project, we really want to be able to improve the abilities and life experiences of people who do live with muscle weakness.
Would it give someone like me in some distant future superhuman strength? Like, for example, I just moved apartments and I had to pay a moving company. Could I lift those boxes myself, potentially?
It won't be superhuman strength. We really would be augmenting the movement. So you would start moving, The garment would understand that you want to move in a certain way, and it will assist you with up to 30% of what you could do on your own. So it really enhances by 30%. And the idea is really not to create the superhuman, but really create an opportunity for people to be able to do their work more easily, to be able to do it without injuries, and people with muscle weakness to be able to go out, to really not have them stay in isolation because they're not able to lift their arms or walk on their own. So these are the kind of capabilities that we are able to do, really enhancing the capabilities in a way that would enhance quality of life as opposed to creating the superhuman.
Could there be a future where clothing like this could be armor against, let's say, a fall on a motorcycle, a fall during any kind of sporting event that's high risk? Could it help protect our bodies as well?
Yeah, in theory, absolutely. When we're looking at the scope of the project, we have to be fairly limited in what we promise for the time frame provided. But these kind of like personal protective garments, when you're looking at like actual motorcycle armor, for instance, or something else that protects hip if you fall as an elderly individual, absolutely some future versions of this can happen. We see sort of real prototypes of these types of clothes on the market right now. They're usually pretty ugly. They're not necessarily something that you'd want to wear every day, but they do exist. And we would hope that something like our project would actually enable these to be aesthetically pleasing enough that anyone could wear them as you need them. And so then they wouldn't necessarily be a thing that you would feel uncomfortable putting on to begin with.
Let's talk about accessibility, not in terms of mobility issues, but in terms of financial access. Are these capes going to be hugely expensive, or is the goal to get them somewhat accessible to everybody who has these basic needs?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So if you look at what Batman Begins had with that special memory cloth cape, they said it was too expensive even for the military. And so that's not something that we want to see happen with this project as well. Every effort's going to be made to ensure that it's basically variations of what existing clothing are. So similar materials, polyesters, nylons, etc., such that we would be able to make a garment that's not that much more expensive than a fairly nice, high quality piece of clothing. The point of this is that it doesn't actually make anybody's lives better if they can't afford it or if they can't get access to it. And ultimately, that depends on manufacturing and scalability. But the intent is that this is something that is accessible as eyeglasses, let's say, for augmenting people's everyday abilities.
Yeah, if I can add to that as well, this was beautifully said by Dan. One thing that we had focused on from the get-go is really to make smartwear available to the people who need it. And often the people who need it are the ones who are not necessarily on the high economic, status when it comes to income. So we have from the get-go engaged people with lived experience, people from the healthcare system. We engaged, for example, Alberta Blue Cross. We engaged workers' comp. And the idea is to come up with a way that this would be supported for people who cannot afford it. Although our goal is to make it as accessible as possible price-wise. Now, the idea is to create the basic modules that may not have all the bells and whistles. And that would be the most affordable module. And that you could put in vests, you could put in long sleeve shirts, you can put it in pants. But then you can add the bells and whistles for a higher and higher and a higher price. But our goal to make it available to not only the high income countries, but really for folks in the middle and lower income countries as well.
I got to talk my final and most burning question. The University of Alberta is taking this very seriously. You got millions to develop this. When could we realistically see a prototype?
Well, okay, I'll tell you what we've promised. So within the first 3 to 4 years, we'll have the prototype that will support your trunk. And by the end of the 6 years, that would be available for scale up by industry. The end of 6 years, we'll have prototypes that will be working for assisting the arms, and prototypes that will be effective for assisting the legs. Whether they will be ready for commercialization or not is unclear, but we are focusing on working prototypes for these by the end of the 6 years of funding.
Vivian, thanks for talking to me.
Thank you.
And Dan, thank you as well.
Thanks so much.
Dr. Dan Sameoto and Dr. Vivian Mushahwar are professors at the University of Alberta, where they co-lead an international interdisciplinary effort to get smartwear on you. Coming up, there's new evidence that suggests magic mushrooms, psilocybin, could be a cure for cluster headaches. How good is this evidence? And if you get bad headaches, should you be popping mushrooms soon, if they're legal where you live? I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show. Answers up next.
The show that asks the questions other shows are afraid to ask. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Have you ever had a bad headache and wondered if you could get rid of it with a wild treatment with psychedelics with magic mushrooms? If that is true, my father's Woodstock therapy might have been ahead of its time. But according to our next guest's research, you can treat headaches with magic mushrooms. Her name is Dr. Caroline Rand. She works at the Center for Cluster Headaches at the Karolinska Institute. She joins us from Sweden. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with the headline on this. How did you discover a link between psychedelic use and the lower odds of frequent bad headaches? Were you just giving people mushrooms in the lab? How did you come across this?
No, we didn't do that. We're not allowed in Sweden, actually. The beginning, I guess, of the interest in this topic was reports that we get from the internet. I don't know if you've heard before about the Cluster Busters. They're a big patient organization online in the US. And there are a lot of patients with headache, cluster headache mostly, that report that they use different type of psychedelic drugs for their headache. And of course, patient reports are really interesting, but we need to look at it further to be able to make sense of it.
So you're looking at a large data set of patients who report headaches and who disclose their psychedelic use. Is this what's called a meta-analysis, or is this something different?
No, this is different. This is a cohort study that we've been doing with data from the UK. So this is just a random chunk of the UK population that has reported different things about their lives, and amongst other things, drug use.
And so you just seek to filter through the data and connect mushroom use with lack of headaches or less headaches. What do you find when you start picking at this data?
Yeah, there are a lot of numbers, and we have to try to make sense of them. I guess that's the most difficult part of using this type of large data sets. But as you said, what we found, the primary finding was that people who have used psychedelic drugs in the past have lower odds of headache.
What are the lower odds?
Well, it's a really small difference. Among the people who use the psychedelic drugs, it was 5.5%, if I remember correctly, and just maybe 2% higher in the control group. So very, very small differences.
Is that significant in the context of public health? Is it enough to say that magic mushrooms or psilocybin could be a treatment for headaches?
No, not by itself. We have to add different kinds of information into it before we can make conclusions. Yeah, this is just a small piece in the puzzle, perhaps we could say.
Is that something that you're planning on investigating?
In Karolinska right now, there are no clinical studies on the use on psychedelic drugs in headache. I know that there is one study going on depression. In Denmark, they've done study on a clinical trial, and also in the US, there has been a few reports. But these drugs are very heavily controlled in most countries, and to perform clinical trials on psychedelic drugs, you need a rigorous ethical testing before you can start any kind of projects like that. So that will be a future project. Yeah.
Cool. It involves a lot of paperwork too. You can't just be handing out, illegal drugs.
No, we can't do that. So I don't know how it is in Canada, if it is illegal also, but in most countries it is.
I think it depends on the drug. I think nowadays it's pretty easy to do clinical trials with cannabis. I think less so with mushrooms. And then as you go more kind of hard drugs, I guess it's more difficult. Were there any findings that were particularly interesting? Was the effect stronger on men, women, people of different ages?
Yeah, the effect was much stronger in women, which I found really interesting. There might be some biological differences, but it's also possible that just reflects on different type of drug use in the male and female populations. Male tend to use more drugs. And we saw that too in this population. The drug use was much higher in males. So that might mask the effect.
Interesting. Now, do you have any idea, you're a neuroscientist, do you have any idea behind the mechanism going on here? I know psychedelics interact with serotonin receptors. Could that be a reason that it would reduce headaches?
It could. The serotonin receptor is also targeted by other drugs used in headache prophylaxis, but it's possible that it's also affecting other things like inflammation, for example, is something that we're looking into a lot in the headache field. And I think that there is a big need of looking into the molecular mechanisms of different drugs more, and maybe not only for psychedelics, because a lot of drugs are really dirty and we don't know what they're doing on a cellular level first and then in the entire organism as a second step. But that's something that we really need to look into if we're going to bring this to the clinic.
That's an interesting thing to say. Drugs are really dirty. When you say that, does that mean we know they kind of work because of clinical trials? We know people have the positive effects, but we have no idea what the mechanism is?
Yeah, for a lot of them, yeah. And also like old drugs like that we use, like paracetamol, like we don't really know. It has different kinds of mechanisms. Probably if it would be launched today, maybe it wouldn't pass the required test.
Now, people have been self-medicating with psychedelics for decades. I myself know several people who have done that, often outside medical guidance. Are there risks of doing that? Or are there risks of saying, okay, there's a small benefit potentially to headaches, and then people go out and start doing the drugs? Would you caution people against that?
Yeah, I would. First, because drugs that you buy in the street are even more dirty. If we continue to use that term, there might be a lot of contaminants in those drugs that are not safe to use. And then also because psychedelic drugs can have secondary effects, and it can be a very disturbing experience for the user. You do it alone in your home. It's not as safe as if you get it administered in a clinical setting in the hospital. So we can't recommend people to do that with the small knowledge that we have on the subject right now.
Zooming out a bit, what do you think the future looks like for psychedelics in mainstream medicine? Could headache treatment be one of the first places we see mushroom use go legitimate? Like, do you think there's a future where we're using substances like this to treat people, and it's not just clinical trials that are restricted, but, general patients?
I think that in mental health, it's going to break through first. There has been some clinical trial, for example, on PTSD. There has been some clinical trials on PTSD, which seems promising, and also major depressions and all sorts of diseases that would be detrimental. Headache is not really seen as a detrimental problem or disorder. Cluster headache is really tough often on the patient, and it's also being called suicide headache at times, because when it's not treatable, people have tried to resort to extreme solutions to get rid of their headache. So maybe in disorders which are really detrimental to the patient, we could see a breakthrough first with these substances, where the alternative is not an option, basically. That's my thoughts about it. But to use it in migraine prevention or light depressions, we're not really there yet, I think.
Well, thanks for sharing your study with me and having this conversation, Caroline. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for letting me come to the show.
Of course, Dr. Caroline Rand works at the Center for Cluster Headaches at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. Like what you hear, but just tuned in? Or you're heading off soon and you're going to miss the end of the show? Well, fear not. You can stream this show on demand as a podcast. That's right. All your favorite Last Show episodes available online. Just head to www.lastshow.pizza. That's lastshow.pizza, not .com. I know you can finish a domain name with pizza now. I'm as shocked as you are. Why did we choose it? No good answer there. It's just strange. Anyway, head to lastshow.pizza, find out more info about the podcast, and check out our social media accounts where you can give us a follow to stay up to date. Up next, a surprising finding that heart problems amongst young people is linked to cannabis use. So how concerned should you be? Should you put out the joint, just exercise caution, or wait for more scientific results? We'll find out that with a doctor behind this study up next.
Want to be part of the Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Don't let them tell you you have to change. Just because you feel a little strange.
Breaking down today's chaos with tomorrow's headlines. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Marijuana is legal in many places, but how safe is it for you? Well, new research shows it may be linked with serious heart problems, which asks the question, what risks are we missing when it comes to cannabis and heart health? I'm here with someone who worked on that research. His name is Dr. Ahmed Mahmoud. He's a resident physician at Boston Medical Center. Dr. Mahmoud, thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you so much, David, for the invitation.
So what got you in particular curious about connecting cannabis with the heart?
Yeah, this is like actually, recently we have seen that in our emergency room that like relatively young patients, 35 years old, coming with heart attack symptoms, no other risk factors, no hyperpressure, no diabetes, nothing else, coming with heart attack. This is unusual for the medical field to have this relatively young patients with no other risk factors and coming with a heart attack. So this is bringing my mind that usually like I have seen like 4 patients till now in the last 7 or 8 months with the only link between them that they are heavy cannabis users. So I just, it came on my mind, I need to look into that. What's going on? Like, is cannabis can be associated with any of the heart diseases? I tried to search first about it if there is any from the pathology, is there any link or any something could cannabis do can affect that? And I found actually some stuff that cannabis do in our body that can lead to heart attacks. So I went with the study. I tried to look for the heart attacks, other stuff related to cardiovascular disease, and I found it significant. Yeah, there is a link.
That's wild. Is it heavy cannabis use, or is it just occasional casual use?
Yeah, this is a good question, and this is a limitation for our study that we didn't look into how much and the amount and duration of cannabis use can affect the heart attacks or the outcome. But I think this is need to be validated more with prospective studies, with like more research, to validate more the amount and the duration. But what we did, we prove a concept that cannabis could be associated to heart attacks.
Well, we say cannabis is safe when compared to other drugs, but I think we don't often ask the question is, what is it safe compared to? We're talking like hard drugs, heavy chronic alcohol use. It looks like more and more we find out it's not actually that safe to be using cannabis. Were you alarmed by this connection?
Myself, yeah, I'm somehow alarmed with this connection, but I just need not to terrify everyone who's using cannabis. We're still doing more research on that. For now, we just prove a concept that there is a link, there is an association between the cannabis and heart attacks, but we need more research to validate our study and to have more information. But at least for now, if I'm gonna advise someone, just try to somehow, if you have a risk factors for MI like high blood pressure or diabetes or high cholesterol, try to somehow cut down on cannabis till we have more data.
We're not trying to alarm people, but just saying moderation is a good thing. You looked at a huge data set, a meta-analysis. When you look at a data set that big, do you find you get good results? Do you find you get a better picture than if you were just to study a handful of people?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like rule number 1 in research: when your sample size increases, your power of results increases. So we looked at like we have 2 studies: the meta-analysis one, which is already published studies, and what is now is booming, the retrospective analysis that we made for more than 4 million patients, and we balanced the groups. We got like more than like 180,000 patients. Compare the cannabis and non-cannabis and see if the cannabis is linked to the MI. And actually what we found that cannabis users, they have 6 folds more risk for heart attacks and myocardial infarction than in comparison to non-cannabis users. And these patients were relatively healthy during the study time. They were free from high blood pressure. They were free from diabetes. They were free from high cholesterol. They were not smoking tobacco. So they were free from different traditional risk factors for heart attacks. They were young as well. They were less than 50 years.
Yeah, I saw that in the report. It was 6 times more likely for people under 50 years old, 6 times more likely to have a heart attack if you're using cannabis. But cannabis isn't always used alone. People mix tobacco into cannabis, cigarettes, joints, I guess. People mix it with hard drugs sometimes. When you add these additional variables, for example, alcohol as well, do factors get a little bit worse?
So what happened now, initially we didn't account for other substances like alcohol and cocaine. We only accounted for tobacco use. But in sub-analysis we just made it recently, we accounted for alcohol and cocaine use, and the results still the same. So this means that it's independent predictor for MI is cannabis.
What are the possible biological mechanisms at play here that might explain this? And if there's no research on it, maybe you could speculate. We understand you're just guessing in that case. But is it well understood how cannabis affects the heart in this way?
It's something published over there, which I first read it and start my publication and research after. But it's not clearly understood till now, like not 100% understood. But the theories about it is, cannabis first increases the blood pressure. It's make your blood to have a high blood pressure running more fast through the arteries. Second, the coronary arteries, which is supply the heart with the blood and oxygen demand, cannabis makes some defects in the cells that lining these arteries, these vessels, which is make it more vulnerable to plaques and to thrombosis. And this is what results in myocardial infarction, heart muscle infarction, and heart muscle injury, which is present with a heart attack. So this is basically what we believe cannabis do in the heart muscle.
In light of your research, I know some clinicians and general practitioners and doctors sometimes prescribe cannabis, like let's say for glaucoma. Would you give them any advice based on your early findings, or would you like to see them doing anything differently when it comes to talking to patients about cannabis use?
I think if it has a clear therapeutic indication, we can use it, because it's like any other medication. It could have a side effect. Like a lot of medications has a side effect. Patients with the cancers, they take chemotherapy and it has like huge side effects, but this is a medication indication. It's like they need it. So I think it should be in our mind, but I think it's clearly indicated we should give it, yeah.
So let's go back to what we said earlier. Without alarming people, understanding this is just early results, any general recommendations for those who are using cannabis?
Yeah, at least for now, till we can have a more clear data about the amount and the duration of exposure for patients with a high risk for heart attacks or strokes or heart failure. Patients with high risk, usually they are like patients has high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, patients with other types of smoking or substance use. Somehow try to moderate their cannabis consumption till we can have more data about amount and duration.
Well, Dr. Mahmoud, thank you for talking to me about your study. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, David, for the invitation. I really enjoyed my time with you.
Thanks. Dr. Ahmed Mahmoud is a resident physician at the Boston Medical Center. After the break, the latest and greatest feature that you're going to love, maybe hate. I mean, I hate it. DoorDash, and maybe soon other delivery app companies, are going to launch a buy now, pay later feature for fast food. Which sounds great, I guess. But do you really want to be in debt over a hamburger you got delivered with high delivery fees? To me, this is a sign of a very worrisome economy. And I know people are struggling. But maybe don't order that $10, $15 hamburger that costs $70 on a delivery app if you can't afford it. Don't put it on layaway. No layaway hamburgers. Why should you be worried about this? Answers on the other side of the break.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. When the day is done, we're just getting started. The Last Show with David Cooper.
We are here to discuss the sorry state of the economy. In particular, delivery apps. I'm here with Dr. Eric Kam from the Department of Economics at Toronto Metropolitan University to chat somewhat, to me, worrying new feature that DoorDash is allowing. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. I hope you're well.
I am well. I remember, so I was living in San Francisco when all these delivery apps seemed to appear from nowhere to solve a problem that I don't know that there was a problem. And the great benefit of them at the time, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, the list goes on, was that they were kind of cheap. And it was true. These apps, these companies had a lot of seed funding and they were operating below cost. And so everyone started using them. Wow, I can get delivery, whatever I want, a great app for super cheap. That's how things were 5 or 10 years ago, Eric. I don't know if it was like that in Toronto where you are.
Well, it was. They all hit the scene at around, like you said, the same time. And they were super cheap. And you'd have thought at the time that they sponsored the pandemic because it was really the pandemic era that brought them into the fold when people said stay home, but people still had to eat. What were they going to do? So, of course, they turned to the big companies. I guess we can say their names, the DoorDashes and the Uber Eats. And that's how they came to be. And they came to be fast and furious. That was a rise like we haven't seen in a long time. But as you pointed out, time passes.
Yeah,
And
there was a big rush to the marketplace. It's like, let's grow this marketplace. Let's grow it together. Let's do it at cost. Let's get everyone on these apps and give them a fair price. That was the initial thing. Of course, then capitalism happens and the fees go up. The prices go up. They inflate the cost of items to make it seem like that's your balance, even though like that hamburger that costs $15, maybe the store only gets 12. Like they started really increasing the cost. And all of a sudden I'm ordering a burger and it's like $60-$70 to get it to my house.
yeah, yes. So a few things about that. Number one, the pandemic came to an end, thank heaven. And so the need to order out and order in became less. But I'll tell you what else happened thanks to the pandemic on our topic today is the economy went to hell in a handbasket, especially north of the border. And when we sit here now with a gross domestic product that is basically not growing and hasn't grown for years, and we just came out of a rapid inflation stance, you have far too many people that are what they say now in all measures, both in America and Canada, one paycheck away from insolvency. One study I just saw said that the average family in Canada, now this is Canada, has $200 in the bank. So all of a sudden, the $15 hamburger that was $20 with delivery, that looked pretty good during the pandemic. But now more people are saying, I can't do it. I can't, they're going to make a profit on my burger, but I can't afford for them to make a profit on my burger and a profit on my delivery. I can't do both. So I'll go pick it up or I'll actually go eat at the restaurant, where some people are finding that tax and tip is cheaper than the delivery charge, David.
Which is, I think, a state of, well, first of all, there's a lot of deceptive fees in these apps and the cost is really high. And people who can't afford it are still delivering because delivery seems like it's supposed to be easy. It's just a hamburger. And all of a sudden they're seeing this high cost. You're saying they got folks have $200 in their bank account. So what should people be doing? Maybe trying to save money on food, maybe going and buying groceries, maybe actually walking to McDonald's instead of having it delivered 5 blocks. But DoorDash comes in with a great new feature that's going to make your life easier and maybe make you one step closer to bankruptcy. What is that feature, Eric?
The feature is buy now, pay later. The oldest feature in the book, right?
Layaway, hamburger layaway.
Hamburger layaway. And okay, so really this to me, first of all, I want to speak to parents out there because I have an almost 21-year-old who thinks that Uber Eats and DoorDash are a bargain because she doesn't have to leave her house in Kingston to get dinner. And I see this it's really among her friends. And I think this has really taken off like an infection among young people who, of course, largely don't pay the bill. Their moms and dads do. So first of all, let me speak to moms and dads and say, get a handle on this. It's one thing if you allow your kid to do it, if at all, every now and then. But if it's going to be the go-to for dinner every night, you're going to find your credit card bill shooting through the roof. And they know this. Those companies know this. And that's why they bury those fees. I was blown away the first time I said to my daughter, hold on a minute. Let me see how these charge. And there's this charge and $1.50. And Sydney, my daughter, is like, yeah, but it's only $1 and it's only 50 cents. And I go, that's because you're not paying the bill. So I would implore parents to check this sucker out. Number two, buy now, pay later has never been a good idea. It has never been a good idea because it is closely aligned to the world's oldest Ponzi scheme, paying interest. And all you're going to do is, you can believe you're going to buy now and pay later, but what you're really going to do is buy now and pay more later. Because they are eventually, if they haven't yet, David, they're going to bury in these things that there's going to be a convenience fund, which is what the department stores do for the same type of layaway service.
What I'm worried about is like, what does it mean? You just like put a charge on my credit card a month later? Like it's how does it even, what are the mechanics of it? How's it going to work?
I assume it's just going to be an electronic IOU, and they're going to keep track of your orders, and they're going to keep track of what would you have paid. So they're going to have, they'll, trust me, you won't, my daughter won't, but they're going to have a tally of how much each delivery would have been. But instead of charging you on how much it would have been, sum it up, they're going to sum it up, and then they're going to put on a convenience fee, a holding fee, a delay fee, because they're not stupid, and they understand that if you're not going to get paid now, then they're going to make the argument that we want to be paid later with interest, which is exactly what a bank does, which is exactly what these companies are becoming. They're not becoming food companies. They're becoming money lending companies, and that's where it gets dangerous.
And I do wonder if you have an outstanding balance, could they convert you into a monthly customer where you've got $70 buy now, pay later, in your account. But then they say, hey, if you pay for a $12 a month account, we'll forgive it or we'll reduce it. And then they've got their annual recurring revenue. They've got their subscriptions. And then you're trapped in the system, like it reminds me of when you'd put the cable on your bill and then you're just trapped spending $70 a month on whatever. I don't know why I'm so fixated on $70. I guess what I'm trying to say is by owing these food delivery companies a large amount, they could convert you into monthly subscribers, and it's sort of like a Netflix or any kind of thing. And now those are the kind of customers they want because those look good to investors. So I do wonder, is this a way to try to grab monthly customers?
Yes, I think it can be looked at as a bit of a scheme in that sense. And there's no end to the games they can play. They can convert you to a monthly customer. They can do pay once a month. They can say, hey, how about you pay every quarter? Or whatever terms they want to put you on, if you're willing to sign up and sign your name, then they're willing to do. Because as I say, the longer you don't pay them, the more you're going to pay them. And that's, for me, this is what's scary to me, is that we're turning non-banks into banks. And I don't like that because there's nobody monitoring how they do this. People can say they're monitoring how they do their deliveries and there's customer service on that. But who are you going to call when you have an interest rate charge that you think is unconscionable? And they're going to say to you, you accepted the terms. And we know people don't read the fine print. So there really is only one way to solve this. Don't do it. Either pay as you order or go to McDonald's and pick it up yourself.
So for anyone listening, the moral of the story, the major takeaway is be extremely careful with any buy now, pay later thing. But if it's a food delivery app, just don't do it.
Just don't do it. Nancy Reagan told you 30 years ago, and she stands by it. Just don't do it.
Dr. Eric Kam works at the Department of Economics at Toronto Metropolitan University. Eric, thanks for talking to me today.
It's an honor. Stay healthy, David.
Ever gone to a doctor or any specialist and had them not believe you? Well, that's exactly what happened to my friend Natalie Norman, a stand-up comedian. She walked into the doc with a migraine and, well, they told her, nah, you don't have that. Why don't doctors believe us? Has it happened to you or someone you know? Well, up next, things are about to get weird with a comedian, if you believe me. And I'm telling the truth. There's no reason not to believe me, Doc.
Want to be Part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. Broadcasting intimate confessions and useless obsessions. You're listening to The Last Show with David Cooper.
Ever been to the doctor and they just don't believe you're sick? Ever called in sick at work and they just don't believe you're sick? Ever been to the hospital and the doctors won't help you? That's what we're here to discuss with comedian Natalie Norman, based out of Toronto. Natalie, are you sick right now?
Technically, I am. I guess a migraine counts as sick. Does it count?
Yeah, that's one of the worst ones, right? Because it's just like internal to you. Like it's not going to kill you. It is going to go away, but you're incapacitated. And really, you have no evidence. Like you could be lying. It's hard to tell.
Well, I'm definitely not lying, because who wants to lie about having a migraine? They are a nightmare. They are the worst.
We'll get to what my ailment is, because it's even more worse and it's even more unbelievable, but go on.
Okay, well, that's not even my ailment that I went to the doctor for last week.
Okay, well, what did you go to the doctor for last week?
So I've been having severe wrist pain, and I went to my normal GP, and they were like, why do you have this wrist pain? What do you think's causing it? And I go, well, I'm on my phone a lot, but I notice it flares up after I spend some quality time with myself.
You need to be using electronic devices when you spend quality time.
Yes. So she suggested that, and I said, well, my friend Dave gave me one.
I did. I David, first of all. Second of all,
David, I don't know why I call you. Okay, David.
It's fine. I had a streak about 5 years ago where I bought, you know what? A little content warning for sensitive listeners. We're about to go into adult themes, so be advised if you have any small children or sexual content offends you.
It's 10 p.m. and your children are up. That's on you.
All right. I'm just saying a little content warning. That's it. Now we can proceed and not get in trouble. Not that we would have, but it's a little better this way. We're going to we're going to talk about adults who have fun with themselves. All right. It's a salacious warning. That's all. Moving on.
Okay.
I had a weird time in my life where I was buying adult friends who were women and some men vibrators. I don't know why. It was like this quirky, funny thing that I did, and you were on the receiving list. It was also married couples. My girlfriend found it very strange, but it was something that I did. I'm not proud of it, but it happened.
I found it strange, but I accepted.
You're not the only one. It was strange.
I was like, this person is so excited to give me this. I'll accept it because I think they're like $80, aren't they?
Something like that. The one that I got you, maybe 60, 80. But at the time, you're like, what's his angle? Is he going to be creepy? But I didn't do anything creepy.
No. I actually never expect you to be creepy. Out of anyone I know, you're not actually a creepy person. Weird, for sure.
I feel like when I'm performing, I can cross the line. But no, privately, I tend to respect people's boundaries.
Yeah, you're like one of the least creepy people I know.
Thank you. That's quite a compliment, because you hang around some real creeps, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know some real creeps. You're not one of them.
All right. Regardless, you were...
So the doctor says you should use one of these tools. And I said, I have one from my friend David, and I don't like it because it's too powerful, and it needs anything that needs the source of your house to make it work.
That's the plug in the wall.
A plug in the wall. It's not appropriate for your sensitive parts. I'm sorry. That's too much power. Nobody needs that. If you need that, we got a medical issue on our hands.
It's a Hitachi magic wand, I believe, is the implement.
Yes. So and I don't know if you know this, if you have wrist pain, it's not good for your wrist because it weighs 1.5 pounds. That's a lot of stress on your wrist.
Why don't you get something a little less intense?
I don't like them, okay? I'm old school.
All right. Well, you gotta work with what you have, and you have wrist pain.
I'm an environmentalist. I don't need that garbage.
All right. You don't want to be throwing away batteries and such.
Exactly. Anyways, so this problem happens. So she sends me to a specialist. I wait a month for the stinking specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And I go in and I started by saying, hello, sir, I have wrist pain because of my private time to myself and other things. And I wear a wrist brace at night. And then we do all these tests and he goes, I don't know, it doesn't seem like your pain's real. And I was like, what? And I think this is because I'm a woman and he doesn't like the way I describe it. And then on top of that, he mentions where he lives because it's close to where I live, which if you want to know, that's creepy.
So wait, he both doesn't believe in your medical ailment and also maybe hit on you.
Well, I don't think he was hitting on me. I think he was just being a weirdo.
Okay.
but he doesn't believe me. And at the end of it, even though I said I wear a wrist brace sometimes, he goes, you should wear a wrist brace and get a tool. And I was like, nobody's listening to me in this conversation. And I've started to think that as a woman, I could go into any doctor and be bleeding from my ears. And they'd be like, drink water. It's all in your head.
I don't have the stats, but something like, a high percentage of heart attacks go undiagnosed because doctors still seem to think women don't get heart attacks, even though they do. This is not uncommon for...
No, it's like statistically, like, we don't believe women's pain. And it's absurd. Like, I literally could be bleeding from the head and they'd be like, let's just put a Band-Aid on.
What about seeing a doctor who's a woman?
Well, my GP is a woman. This was a specialist.
Oh, you think that she would refer you to someone?
No, she believes me.
No, she believes you, but you think she would refer you to someone who would also believe you.
Well, she didn't know. She just referred me to a clinic that has these kind of practitioners.
So my question for you is, why are you lying, Natalie?
Why am I lying? Because I love drama.
That's another thing. Like, why would someone go to a specialist for wrist pain and then it's like, oh, I wasted all my time. I got the referral. I waited. I got a schlepped all over there. I can't work that day. All of this.
You and me, we have logic for some reason.
You'd think 75 years of medical school would help with the logic department.
Well, it's what I was like, you think me, a comedian, wants to come in at 10 a.m. and see you and pretend I have a problem? I could do that on stage. I don't need to be here.
Exactly. No, it's, what are you going to do though? How are you going to address this wrist pain?
Well, I'm going to prove him wrong, because he gave me medical tests to go take, even though I've already taken them, but he didn't receive them. And it's going to show so much fluid in this wrist. He's going to be horrified. And then I'm going to tell him I don't want to see him. And I'm going to write him a nasty letter.
And he's definitely going to read it. And then he's going to look in the mirror and think, I was the idiot all along. No, he's just going to ignore the letter and keep on being a bad doctor.
No, people say they ignore it, but I think they read it. And then when they're offended, they say they ignored it. I don't care. The point is, I'm sending him a podcast called The Retrievals, which is about this. And if I don't get help, I'm going to report him. I'm not going to report him. I'm too lazy.
That's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, I'm too lazy.
Let me tell you about my thing that's real but not real. I get BPPV, benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. I get
No, you made that up.
Exactly. And you can actually test for it because when I move my head and I have it, my eyes dart back and forth because I'm like losing my balance and the room's spinning. And when the room's spinning, your eyes are actually darting back and forth. And I can't keep my eyes on a fixed point. But like I've been unable to go to weddings for this. I've been unable to catch flights for this. I've missed events. If I get it, I'm stuck in bed. And it's a bizarre thing where it's just like, it's basically a clog in your inner ear. Your inner ear tells your brain that you are balanced and upright. And when you get like a stuffy nose, but in your inner ear, your brain loses the ability to stay balanced and you fall on your butt and you're nauseous all the time. And if you move, Go ahead.
Sounds exactly like a migraine.
It's basically motion sickness, but not due to motion, just due to a stuffy inner ear.
Just because you're a Jew.
Probably. And when I get it, I'm like, I can't get out of bed. I need Dramamine or Gravol or whatever that medication is just to prevent from throwing up. And my girlfriend has to take care of me and she hates it because it's like, it quite literally is all in my head. It's just symptoms. And once my ear gets unclogged, it goes away. But like, I'm not sick. I'm not.
Do they know why this happens?
They think because there's like calcium. It's sort of like plaque in your inner ear. And when it gets loose, it fills the organ with like plaque. And then the liquid in it that flows and tells your brain that you're upright or whatever doesn't flow. But no, not really. They don't know what causes it.
And there's no cure.
Just time.
This is awful. And that's what migraines are.
Exactly. And it's weird because it's just in your head. It's not life-threatening. Although I think a really bad migraine can be a sign of a stroke, so maybe that is life-threatening. But
they are debilitating. Like my mood completely changes.
But
like
it's not like the flu where if you don't fight it, it'll kill you, or pneumonia. If you don't fight it, it's like totally benign, and yet you can't go to work, you can't do anything, and you're stuck needing the help of others. It's a very vulnerable position.
Well, I don't need the help of others. In fact, I want everyone to stay away from me.
So the moral of the story is doctors believe patients, especially women. Natalie, you got a gig coming up in Toronto, a stand-up comedy gig. Tell me in 5 seconds or less.
Friday, March 28th, 8:30 Comedy Bar. And I think all male doctors should be banned from practicing.
Unless they want to buy tickets to your show. Natalie Norman, Toronto-based comedian. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
That's the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow night. Check us out online at www.lastshow.pizza. That's not .com. .pizza. I'm David Cooper, and this is The Last Show.